Hi friend, today we are gonna paint this super cute pumpkin. I am using my Everyday Etchers sketchbook, and I believe it is the cold press. I honestly cannot remember at this point in time, but this is the sketch. I'm going to give you guys a second so you guys can draw it if you want. And in the meantime, I am going to go ahead and mix up some colors. I am going to use my Danielle Smith watercolor. I am using Hands of Yellow Deep. I had to think for a second. I am using a mixture between Hands of Yellow Deep and Pyrrole Scarlet. And then I am using Burnt Orange. It's that quinacridone burnt orange. And then I am using burnt umber. So those are the colors. Oh, and then I am using Under the Sea Green. So these are the colors I am going to use so far. And we are going to begin with a light wash tea consistency of the Hands of Yellow Deep. And we're going to begin with Wet on Dry. And we're just going to very lightly put this color in. I'm doing it just very loosely. Very, very loosely. Sorry, my voice is going to go in and out. I am fighting somewhat allergy, cold type, sinus type deal. So, fun. But we're just going to do a really light coat of this color here. And while it is still wet, we're going to go ahead and drop in this orange mix. Put it a little bit darker on the back. Filling it in. If you think you got too much, you can take a thirsty brush, which means it's just a little bit wet. Wipe it off on your paper towel and do that, because I don't want it to get too dark, because I'm trying to leave the centers a little lighter. So we're going to lift some more over here. Okay, softening that up. Taking some from here. So I lightly wet it. I dropped in some of the orange mix we made, trying to leave out the center, tracing it down on the sides. I am dropping in some yellow while it was wet, and then I went ahead and I put our orange mix on the top to get a darker hues, trying to leave the center light. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in some of that quinacridone burnt orange, taking it down. And if anything gets too harsh, we will definitely soften it up. But kind of taking it down, following the shape of the pumpkin. Taking that quinacridone burnt orange, still trying to remain with the centers, but taking it along the sides and dropping it in on the top and the bottom of the pumpkin. Now adding a little bit of that burnt umber. Oops. Try not to drop your paintbrush, but trying to add that towards the bottom, and then once again on the sides, following the pumpkin shape, and then trying to lift out a little bit of the centers to add a highlight. Now we're gonna go ahead and add the stem, taking some more of that burnt umber, using a little thicker consistency, but more like milk. We're gonna go ahead and just put the first layer of the brown in. And then taking a little bit more of that burnt umber and a little thicker consistency, I want to put a little darker towards the bottom. And then kind of using a feathering method with kind of pushing and pulling, as my friend Deb Walker would say. We're gonna go ahead and put that there. And then sometimes, just to add a little bit more, I'm gonna add some of this orange, or not orange, but this green color, the under the sea green, and just kind of tap that in there just a little bit. And then I'm gonna just kind of push it towards the bottom. Okay, and then let it dry. Now we're gonna work on our leaves. We're gonna go ahead and wet it. And we're gonna do both of these at the same time, these ones here. And we're gonna use that Hands of Yellow Deep, and we're gonna go ahead and put a light wash of that in, tea consistency. And same thing here. And if it's not perfect, it's because I'm trying to keep my hands out of the way, so you guys can see what I'm doing. Go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and wet these. And using that Hands of Yellow Deep, putting that in there. Then we're going to add that Under the Sea Green by Danielle Smith. I want to add it in, but make sure you remember to leave a little bit out. You don't want the whole thing to be solid. I'm trying to like leave out lighter spots. Oops, grabbed the wrong green. It's okay. And then putting it in. Kind of leaving it, I want to not all of them to be the same. So just kind of dashing it in, and we will go back over this. Okay. Like I said, we will go back over this. I want to, oop, dipped into the wrong green again, but that's okay. You know, I dipped into purling green. It'll just give us more of a mixture of a green anyway, so it works. Just dropping in a little bit more of that color. It does not need to be perfect. This is a very loose painting. Very, very loose, so. Okay. Just kind of playing around with it. And there we go. And to make it look a little bit more realistic, I forgot. We want to add just a hair of that burnt umber, because this time of year, things are starting to slightly die off. So we're just going to add a little bit of that to the mix. There we go. I like just kind of dabbing it in. So this way, they just look a little bit more realistic. Now, for the leaves on the bottom, we're going to go ahead and wet each one as we do it. We're going to do a wet on wet method. And taking our colors that we've been using, I want to take some of this yellow, and then we're going to add some of this burnt orange to this one. And then this one over here, do here and here. We're gonna do with some yellows, but we're gonna go and add in Minnesota Pipeline Genuine here. With a little bit of this Perline Maroon. Because we want this, I want this one to be a little bit more like a reddish purple. Wow, look at that explode. Very beautiful. I'm really loving that. And then what we can do is take a little bit of a paper towel and lift it so I can go ahead and add a little bit of orange with that. Perfect. It's the first time of me really using that Perline Maroon, and it really exploded. So, and I believe my Perline Maroon is Da Vinci. So, I wanted to bring in some other colors here besides just the normal colors that we've been using. If I can get my words out. Words are hard today. I haven't filmed for a minute, so getting back to being used to it again, I guess. And then this one, we're going to just add a little bit of that burnt umber and trying to get it to blend using the push and pull method. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay. And these shapes are not perfect by any means, but that's okay. On this one, I want it to be a little bit more of a brown color. So we're just going to go ahead and I want to make it a little darker by the pumpkin and then lighter, because we want to add some dimension, and having the pumpkin on it is going to be a little bit darker. So if we need to go darker, that's fine. And then these ones, I think we're going to do like a yellowish browns. So add in some of this yellow. And I got too much. And if that ever happens, if you're doing a group of things, you can totally just spread it out. And then soaking some of that back up with the thirsty brush. There. And then add in a little bit of this red. And things aren't perfect, guys. Like I said, I'm trying to do it where you can see. And my hands are shaky today, but it's fine. It's really fine. Maybe add in just a touch of red. Okay. Going back in, I want this one to be a little bit more on the brown side. So we'll put that in there. Maybe not because of that, so we'll do a little bit of orange. There we go. Just kind of mixture is fine. Because this time of year, you got leaves that color. I'm going to go back in, and I definitely want to get that a little bit darker. And then lightly feathering that out, so it's not a harsh line. And then here, and then you guys will be seeing what I'll do for the leaves and stuff to add more detail. I think you guys are gonna like it. Add a little bit of yellow. There we go. Lovely. Okay, and we're gonna let that dry here in a second. I think I want to fix this one a little bit more. It just, to me, I want a little bit more brightness to it. Okay, that's a little bit better. And the shapes are not perfect. That's why we're doing it loosely. Kind of blending that in. Okay. You need to get to the point, like with me, sometimes I tend to putsy a little bit too much, but I really want to brighten up the colors, but okay. Sometimes you just got to stop so you don't get too much detail. This is supposed to be a loose painting, so I need to just stop. Okay, so let it dry. Okay, so off screen, well, not off screen, but off video, I went ahead and did the sky and put in some grass color. So now I'm going to go ahead and I want to add in some more grasses into the foreground. So I'm taking some more of that moss green, or not moss green, but under the sea green that looks like a moss green. And I'm going to go ahead and just put in a hint of some grasses in. Trying to keep my head out of the video. And then before long, you guys will be seeing a little trick, and we're going to make these little leaves and this pumpkin pop. So you're going to have to stay to a little bit, watch a little bit further to see the secret for that. But we're going to go ahead and just add in some grasses. It don't have to be perfect, but I definitely want to get the hint of it in. So it's gonna just look better. So now I'm taking a little bit of neutral tint and that under the sea green for a bit of a shadow. And I'm going right over the leaves and everything because that pumpkin will cast a shadow on them. And then I kind of doing a little bit round. It's not perfect, but there we go. Trying to cast that shadow. And I think I want it a bit darker. So I'm going to go ahead and take my silver black velvet in my size 2. and taking just some of that neutral tint. And then I want to put even darker right underneath the pumpkin and curve it around. And that's gonna give it a bit more dimension. Okay. So now is the fun part. We're gonna go ahead and make our leaves and everything pop. So what I like to do is I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of this. I'm taking watercolor pencils and I am using my Faber-Castell, and I am just gonna go ahead and we're gonna add some of this detail. Just taking it around, because all I want to do is get a little bit of that color on there. Just adding a little bit more on the bottom, and a little bit on the top. Okay, and then I want to bring more emphasis to that, and then I want to make my darker part dark. There, and then kind of around here. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and take like this. This is a earthy green, and I'm going to go ahead and use that for our little detail work. I don't use watercolor pencils a lot, but they're so much fun. And you can get a lot more detail with them, which is wonderful. Okay, so now that we got those lines, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this brownish color. And here in a few, you're going to see how all these lines are going to soften, but yet the detail is going to be there, which is why I love, 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 love watercolor pencils. When you don't want to take a lot of time for detail, and sometimes my hands shake, so I can always count on being able to use my watercolor pencils. So I go ahead and add the line work. And as you can see, this stuff is really beginning to come out already. Now, what we're going to do to make these pop down here is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to take some of this gray. And we're just going to put underneath the leaves, because with the leaves there, it's going to cast a shadow. But trying to leave it all on the same side. Doing that, as you can see already, it just made it pop so much more. And then, like, if you don't think you have enough color, you can always go back with a little watercolor pencil to bring out some of these colors. And then what I want to do is I want to go ahead and put the lines and stuff in these so people can know that they're leaves. Not that your brain won't resonate with it already, but it's just kind of nice. And what you'll see here in a few minutes, have done this, is going to leave the detail of the leaves And you'll see what I mean here in a few. Okay, so what you're gonna do is, now that we got the lines, I'm gonna go ahead, and I think this needs to just kind of curve around here like that maybe, but it is really gonna bring this to life. So what I like to do is, you're gonna wet your paintbrush, and like watercolor, I'm just gonna lightly go over this to soften it. Just like watercolor. That's all you're gonna do. You're just gonna soften it. And when you do this, it's gonna allow it just to soften back enough where it kind of blends in. And then, like, say you wanted to soften up those, you could lightly just blend it in and go over it really softly, and you could leave a lot of those details. But I like the sharp edges, but for the pumpkin, I do want to soften these lines. So I'm going to just go back over it, where I had used the color pencil, and just kind of blend it out, because I do not want no harsh edges. So as you blend it out, you can see, but make sure you follow the shape of the pumpkin, because you don't want to lose that. So I'm just kind of going around, but as you can see, it just blends out perfect. And I'm using a smaller brush because I want to maintain my water control. I don't want too much water. But that's the nice thing with watercolor pencils. You can definitely use them wet or dry. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And we are done. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a great day. Bye.